Maybe we'll go around the room, maybe introduce ourselves. Tim Burke, I'm the chairman of the Public Works Committee.
I'm Janice.
Dave Granger, Tom Gainesville.
Jerry Davis, Covington.
Joe Wazowski, Castile.
Ellen Grant from Bennington.
Dan Lure, Middlebury.
He's with us today for the Devon's Genesee Transportation Council meeting, I believe. That's important to know. Anybody is on the Zoom. Okay, so first thing on the agenda is position to fill primary equipment operator to replace Nathan Redden, who resigned January 7th. Part of the new program, I guess, instead of running through HR first, it comes from home first, and then back to HR.
No, just to
No,
finance.
Straight to finance.
Motion to, so that position.
I'll make that motion.
Supervisor Doctor,
Yes, I'm not on this anymore.
any further discussion?
Wait, Becker's not on there.
Becker's not
I'm
on.
not on here anymore.
Oh.
That's right.
I was,
I'll move it, Jim.
So Jerry,
I'm on.
any further discussion?
I'm supposed to be looking at the cars.
Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. The next one is another position to fill. This is for the working supervisor to replace Eric Jackson, who was promoted to bridge construction supervisor. Pete, is this gonna come from within, do you think, Pete?
I believe so. Yep, I've talked to some of the guys that would probably be eligible for the position. They seem to have interest, so it's gonna be a fill position, and then probably we'll have to fill one of their positions. But that's the end.
A motion by Supervisor Grant. For the discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, we'll move on to the January work update. Steve brought a copy of everything down. He brought it up to the highlights.
Yeah, the highlight. Currently, our bridge crew is working on boxes for Shelton 17, which is a project next year we're gonna be doing. So they're pouring concrete every day or almost every other day, depending on if we've got snow plowing and things to do. Our long arm mower is currently in Orangeville. I think he's wrapping up there. I think the next town he's going to is gonna be Dava possibly. Or no, he's coming to Dava, so worse, I think. We just completed tree trimming with our subcontractor Tim Eastman yesterday. That was pretty aggressive this year, the amount of trees that we were able to take down with a short time that we had them for. The back page, I guess we could go to, all our employees completed CPR and AED training. You're gonna have a couple of the building and grounds guys come complete that with us. That was put on by Brian Myers from EMS. And we're constantly have the snowing, the plowing and ice removal going on in the county parking lots. I think everybody's seen the guys around plowing and picking up snow, so that's the highlights of what we got going on County Highway. 17. Center Line Road. The one just below Humphrey Road.
Have you had to get the snow blowers, all that?
No, not gonna look at that one. Yeah, but I asked the town highway superintendents to get a hold of me sooner than later if on our roads, if there's issues with snow banks. It's a pain when they get too large. They end up spending so much time in one spot trying to remove the snow to make it safe and passable. So I asked them to be more proactive with it. If they've got a location that's coming an issue to let me know early in advance so we can get to that. So in case we have multiple locations, we can try to get to all of them instead of just spending our time in one spot.
These are the two bridge projects, Chilcott Road and Third, just kind of whole.
There's, I think Devin was gonna maybe say something on Zoom about those, give an update, but, as far as I know, they are working on, Showcop Road a little bit, they've had some work done, it's not on hold. There's some fence that have been completed up there. The fairgrounds bridge, that may be on hold, I don't know if there's anything going on over there currently.
Sometimes I see trucks there when I go through town and cranes and so I don't know if
There's your construction update.
Actually, I think they got the framing, still framing.
That's what I thought when I went through town the other day, I said, oh, they got it together, I think.
And yeah, they'll be working a few more weeks before they take it over. And yesterday we provided an update on completion dates. And for both projects, it's like early May. Off they're putting the siding in. So that's good. I think they'll do the siding. Then they'll do the metal roof, guide rails, and then shut down for probably a month or so.
Yeah,
Whenever it's like 5 degrees or colder, they shut down. I know, it's,
It seems like every,
I was down there yesterday and my car said it was 12, and it was freezing.
I know they've asked me a couple of times to get a hold of Andrew at the town to go down and give him some salt and sand there, so.
Yeah,
So when it's icy, they're working sometimes, so.
yeah.
Alrighty, thank you much.
I don't know, the other day in the egg, we, for the water team, and they had, see grant, help. I think it was just town highway, as far as, ditches for, you know, I don't know whether that included anything that you guys can do or not.
I mean, the hydro seeder is shared with soil and water, so I mean, that's something that could be scheduled with us. I mean, we can definitely help do that.
So if you do some ditching, you want to have the city, you can do it yourself, use hydro seeder.
Yeah, or we just, mainly, if we just ditching, I don't know if we waste the hydro seed on, we just probably go down through the bag of grass seed and toss some seed on. Let it take on its own. So you mix in fertilizer along with the organic material that the seed attaches to for this fertilizer and the seed. It's probably pretty expensive just to put in a ditch.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for an erosion control, where you're gonna have a place where you ditch, where you wanna get vegetation as fast as possible, hydro seeding is definitely the way to go.
Yeah.
So that's something that we do on our own, especially in bridge projects. Sometimes we hydro seed right away.
You know, if you could pass that along, when you have your highway superintendent meeting, you know.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts about it.
All right. Thank you much.
Say, Devin is on, Cheryl. Devin, do you have anything to add?
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
They covered that pretty well. So for the Pike Fair Bridge, they started assembling the top cord, and then they kind of assemble it from the top down, essentially. So they will assemble it all in one place, lift it up, and set it down onto the abutments. They weren't there yesterday, but I think moving forward they'll be there quite a bit. The issue with that bridge is kind of like a puzzle, right? So they get a bunch of pieces back from the supplier. They have to try to figure out how to put it all together. But it's coming along. They got some of the top cord put together now, so they're making pretty good progress over there. I think Ellen covered the Bennington Bridge pretty well. The next item I wanted to discuss with everybody, it may be better to do it in person next time, but Burke Hill Road, we had a little discrepancy with our plowing with the town, with the town of Warsaw. So our contract does not cover the little offshoot on Burke Hill Road that's up there, right on the border of the town of Perry and the town of Warsaw. The issue is that years ago, I can't tell you even how long ago it was. The road was realigned to what it is currently, but the old right of way that was there is still our right of way. It's not in the contract to pay the town to plow it. So, it was brought to our attention this year that they weren't being paid to plow it. So, I I didn't want to leave the lady that lives there high and dry, so I told the town to just, I guess, plow it and send me a bill for time and materials, but the lady uses it as her driveway. There's only one person that lives there. She uses it as her driveway, so I didn't want to just, without any advance notice, let her, have to figure it out. So I got the county attorney involved. She's looking into it. So, hopefully here soon we'll have a couple options on how we can handle it. But, certainly I think what we can do is probably the best option would be to abandon the road, that little section of right-of-way, and build that lady a driveway from the current Burke Hill Road. It'd probably be the best option, but we'll see what Ms. Wilkinson says.
Yeah, I agree. This is the time of year to abandon it with that person high drive. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's something maybe we can get taken care of, come spring, before next winter.
Exactly. Yeah, I just didn't want to, I just didn't, like you said, just leave her having to figure it out in the middle of snow season. Another option would be to sell that right of way to her, even for $1, but I don't know if she would accept that. So we'll have to see what our options are.
Does she own both sides of that old road or no?
Just the one side. The other side belongs to the highway department. I think we put stockpiles and stuff there.
This part right here.
Oh,
This is
But technically, that's the county right of way, so we own it. But we have not been, providing any maintenance to that section of right of way. So I'm sure it's not in great condition.
Hey, Devin, this is Dan Lower.
the old road.
Hey, Dan.
Stockpile and stuff.
Are you talking about that extension on Burke Hill from
So, I knew-
between Cowie and Canaway?
No, it is literally there's like a little offshoot where Burke Hill Road is to the right. There's like a little loop talking about that section.
Okay.
And then the abandoning procedure.
Number of years ago, they
They
rebooted Burke Hill.
got to
They turned off.
road close signs and then they're they're not maintaining.
Right, sir.
It's nothing, we just go up and tomorrow. So that's where I guess the county attorney look into what.
You guys should have figured out now where we're at.
yeah.
Okay, on the next, commission adopted bid for 2022 skid steer replacement 2006 Bobcat. In the budget.
So the old Bobcat that we have is coming to the end of its useful life. Certainly, we want to replace it. Hopefully before this one, fails. So that's what we're trying to do with this.
Are they having state bid Bobcat and some state bid?
Yeah, I believe so.
I'm not sure. When you check out the availability, the city thing, everybody seems to be 6 months or a year behind getting that. Well, probably would be
Yeah,
to go ahead and get it lighted up anyway.
yeah, it's rough ordering anything right now for sure.
Okay, then motion by Supervisor Kozlowski. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Before we go to our Lindsay, do you have any special report for us, Katie, or anything, and we're in good shape, you're all taken care of. Okay, that's good.
Hey, Jim.
Yeah,
Hey, real quick, I just want to give an update on the building status. So we Mike and I had approached Campus Construction And we provided them with some specs that we thought were necessary for the building, and they're gonna put together a cost estimate on what they think the building will cost, just so we have an idea of what we're looking at before we pay a contractor an hourly rate to develop some plans. We just wanna know how much it's gonna be before we do that.
Mike is here right now, so, Mike, is anything to add to that,
Yeah, so we're already working with Canvas on 2 of our projects that we have open, and they have an in-house estimator. So what we're doing is sending the plan that Devin and I came up with that would incorporate the new office building, buildings and grounds shop, and then it would be a 2-story building. And buildings and grounds would actually be on the 2nd floor with future room to expand on the other side of the building for any department or for storage or what have you. Currently, with the needs of the 1st floor, we're at 7,500 square feet, so roughly 75 by 100 building. And really with providing that information with campus, we can then get rough numbers, budgetary numbers for the design we want, something that matches highway buildings, maybe 3 or 4 feet up on the building, a nice stone facade type look to it, something that would incorporate the whole of the property though. The entry would be on the north side of the building. We changed some things up. But really, signing with campus, we're already in contract with them. We already have approvals to spend money with them. So they'll spend 10 hours, say, at an hourly rate, coming up with that figure to let us know if it's going to be $50,000 or $50 million before we go and spend $25,000 with an engineer or an architect to come up with plans that we're just not going to approve anyway. So that's where we stand with that right now. There's a lot of details to go over with any building, of course, but Devin and I have, and Pete's input, we have a pretty good idea of what we all need incorporated under that one roof. So
This will cover your office space and what you requested about the storage space that you need for buildings and grounds.
correct. So the 1st floor would actually be, we were looking at 75 feet by 40. Trying to think now, but 75 feet by 60 feet would be highway office space. That gives 6 offices, a general conference area, a kitchen / break room, a reception area, and then the amenities of restrooms, stuff like that, closet space, storage space. And then the other side of that 1st floor would be roughly 40 feet by 75 feet with 2 bays. One bay would be like a clean, one area would be a clean storage area for all of our paper products, toilet papers, everything we use day to day. And then the other end of the shop would incorporate a small paint booth or a clean room, and then just general shop space for building projects, wood shop, and any material storage that we see, that we have. So it's the footprint would have to be very large to incorporate both, but that's where in the 2nd story we can put buildings and grounds office upstairs. We between Devin and I, we threw out some ideas of other agencies that we could possibly move to that building then that already do work or have the same type of work. So we're still in the early planning stages, but we're just looking to get a ballpark figure on the cost of this structure at least.
I would also address our ADA compliance with the current building too.
Exactly.
I think one of the things that started this when Devin was first hired, he went up there, he went in, he didn't know which way to go when he entered the building, whether to go upstairs or downstairs. Then we would use those existing offices for other departments or departments within the highway. We use those for Katie's office and charge office. Use those for other existing highway departments. We would say Tim's downstairs someplace.
Yeah, I'm downstairs.
Yeah.
We all kind of The cellar dwellers is what they call us now.
Yeah.
Wrong word for that.
Maybe we'll have something, I don't know, we talked about when it got to be better weather that we're gonna have a public works committee meeting up there sometime and tour that, those facilities, which was not done when we toured the other facilities earlier this year.
Yeah, it's a much bigger project than, than we can come up with figures in just 1 month's time. So it'll be, I'm hoping to have rough numbers by the end of February, just for the square footage and a cost estimate for what we're looking to build, general office space, per square foot, just to give us an idea, and then we can grow or shrink from there.
Oh,
Plan.
that's gonna open up some other spaces, I know, the backside of the record detention building, that you use now for storage.
Correct.
That would open that up for health department where needed, it's that kind of storage.
Exactly. It would, the record storage area down there is a great storage area. It's nice and dry. There is a sink in that area. But that's pretty much what it was intended for. Not to say it couldn't be other office space at some point, but it would be a shared space with records, being a secure building. Our area is not under security surveillance like the rest of the records is. But it would be a great storage area for anything health department sees that.
Okay. Move along with some FYIs for maintenance communication, maintenance contract for the telephone system. February 23rd, 22 through February 22nd, 23. The other one is for keeper sales and service for annual fire signature inspection. I had a question of that, I talked to Mike. A lot of the other departments in the county use TV fire stop out of Perry. I don't know whether there's any interest in changing. Tom does a pretty good job taking care of the rest of the county. He is a county resident, pays county taxes.
Yeah, I don't know if Devin and Pete can answer that question, why it's always been I don't know who does the hospital, I don't know, I know you guys do your own, have your own contractor for the extinguishers or any fire equipment.
Yeah, I've never been involved with
Yeah.
how it's chosen or anything like that, so.
It would be nice to get everybody under one umbrella. We just have one inspector, we get one price. And honestly, Tom Page is right on Silver Road there. He's very accessible. Switch out extinguishers right there. I deal with them all the time, actually, for personal use as well. So,
Ellen is,
I don't know. And I did something Tuesday.
it's close.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that evidently you made some arrangements for this keepers.
Yeah, he's actually already on there.
At this time, so
For this time.
maybe going forward, we can take a look at that.
Yep, I'll give that
Okay.
information to Eric with their shop.
how long is that contract? Is it a year? Or is it
Yeah, it's
just a year?
Where I was going with Ellen is this actually, Kiefer's, is it actually in Genesee County or is it in, Wyoming County? You gotta remember, there's a whole bunch of residents that have Darien addresses
Yeah.
and are actually in Wyoming County. just
Yeah,
like-
this is right up here where Chris Oliver is.
It's close.
I don't know, open the line.
the phone contracts. Have you talked to IT at all, or is IT kind of, because I know we've been trying to consolidate some of these contracts so that they're all under one roof. So I didn't know, well, Nick from IT is the one who sent me the bill. Okay, yeah, all right. Sent me the contract. Okay, so there, yeah, okay.
Okay, does anybody have anything else for Devin, Pete, they're right here? Man, Devin, thanks for getting on and.
So,
He's doing another webinar at the same time.
Yeah.
So,
He's also trying to capture some funds, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for coming in.
Thank you, guys.
Kiefer's is out of town,
It's out.
is out of town.
Well, I actually understand, you know, like. Such as, most where it's not very good, you know, probably somebody Chris Boo, you know, they had come in doing it for years, you know.
I know we were.
First, I just did mine Monday.
Yeah.
We use Fire Stop as well in Middlebury.
Yeah. Tom was recently kind of semi-retired from what he's doing, so he's got some more time to take out a few more accounts. Okay.
I heard he's going for town supervisor.
Okay, Mike, you're up to first service contract. UNS services for the provisions of HVAC controls in various county buildings.
Yes, our major buildings, we have UNS. We're able to view all of the controls. We've talked about this numerous times. So this is just so we can keep seeing what's going on with our buildings. UNS is a startup group now. They're very great to deal with. Phone call away day or night. So the systems, we're actually looking to add to the ag center as well. Purchase of that.
This, that's going to include the ag center, or does that have to be decided at that time?
Right, it would have to be added at the time.
Motion? Motion by Supervisor Roach. Further discussion? These are the people who've been using it very long.
Oh, yeah, for years and years.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. The next one, number 2, is sign a contract, the chairman can sign a contract with Ferguson Electric Services for infrared thermal graphic inspections and switch gears for process cameras.
Yep, so what Ferguson does for us, every year they come out once a year and they do thermal inspection of our major switch gear, all the transfer switches, all the transformers that are in the parking lot, as well as the main panels that are in the building. We are going to switch that up a little bit this year. So we're going to add a few buildings and go from year to year, then we'll bounce back and forth. We've never had, not since I've been here, we've never had like the highway department, the older panels, stuff like that ever looked at. So we pay them to be here for the day. They'll go to any of the buildings that we would like them to. So I think if we get a rotation of year to year, these buildings are really in great shape electrical wise. But some of the other buildings, such as the health department, the highway department, and DSS is getting to that point where electrical equipment is it's not seen its term life, of course, but it's time to start looking at those items in the hot spots within the panels. It allows us to take the precautions necessary for preventative maintenance to switch out breakers or move things around in the panel if we do have a hot spot.
So they actually go to the breaker boxes, you grab it, check that.
They have a camera that they look at it and it shows different variations of colors and temperatures at each breaker. And then, if something is 89 degrees, it's showing that's where it should be. If something's at 129 degrees, there's an issue, or we need to, look into that system.
And then we chase that circuit down and see what's causing that.
Correct. Yep. And sometimes it's just a loose connection. Sometimes over years, with heating up and cooling, it's expansion and contraction of the wire and of the breaker itself. And sometimes it's as simple as tightening connection of a breaker. Sometimes we just switch the breaker out. So
Sometimes you got a motor going bad.
exactly, sometimes it's a compressor drawing way too hard because it's getting ready to fail.
I see that's a 3-year contract.
It is, yep. Yep, so not to exceed 15,660 over a 3-year period.
Okay, motion. Motion by Supervisor Davis, further discussion? Those in favor? Opposed? Carries. Number 3, another professional service contract. Waste management, New York. Trash and recycling dumpster services at various county buildings. That to exceed 12,000 effective February 1st, 22 through January 31st, 23.
This includes all of our large dumpsters at various county buildings and also the cardboard or recycle dumpsters, we like to call them. So,
This is a waste management.
correct.
Yeah.
Yep,
I was gonna ask you, they still have the cardboard dumpsters.
we do, we have 2 of them. We have one at the jail and one at the Ag Center. And we also put paper in those dumpsters. They charge us an overcharge fee for paper because it's not cardboard. But the fee is cheaper than actually getting a cardboard dumpster or a paper dumpster. So we just fill it up. We put that in our totes and bins, and that's how we've been going about business for years this way.
Often they, once a week, they dump these, so
Yeah. I can tell you what days, maybe Thursday. But sometimes we, actually having different dumpsters throughout the county, it allows us to disperse, garbage differently. So if we have a project going on that doesn't, we don't need a roll off, we're able to utilize these various dumpsters for that as well. So it's worked out well for us. We don't have to upgrade any of our dumpsters right now.
okay, very good. Motion by Supervisor Grant. Further discussion? See, it's another state contract. In favor? Opposed? 3 carries. Next 2 are some FYI, as well as the pay overhead door. There's an overhead door to various county buildings.
What we had there for with the Tavy overhead door, the braking pulley as well as the motor had an issue in the jail Sally Port. The braking pulley had a bolt back out, and as it wound, it actually wore a groove into the motor housing, destroyed both units. It was like $800 repair, but you gotta be able to open and close the door. They'll fix it as the parts come in. 3 weeks is what they had told us. It's been 3 weeks, still not repaired, so I'm sure they're having an issue getting probably the motor end of it. But it's working. They just took that bolt out. It doesn't have the emergency brake right now, but it is functioning as is, but it has to be repaired to operate correctly.
I know just, some of the other areas, when we started in town, rooms, Martin, Central Falls, overhead door. Service out there.
Yeah.
It just happened, you need somebody else. They're pretty, convenient about what's out.
Yeah, what's nice is we've used overhead door for a number of years. They've got all of our files, everything, all of our openers, all of our the style door. So we just have to call and give them the address, and they have a file that shows what the equipment is, and they just come out with the parts then. So it's pretty nice using them, but we're always up for saving a buck.
Second one is a Senate Forum security system, alarm monitoring, Capitol building, record detention, and the storage building.
Correct, this is just our security system and panic alarm system, panic buttons. So at these various buildings, Probably next month, we will bring you another contract through this company. It'll be for the security panel upgrade for the DMV. The equipment's 20 or 25 years old. Just like the fire alarm equipment here, you know, those things, they've got better equipment, better sensors now than they did 25 years ago. So we've already got a price on that as well at $6,300 or $6,800 to update that service. But as of right now, we don't have anything except this, just the service they provide.
Back up and go next door, we have a project at the airport over there, snow removal equipment building. And that's one of the things that I'm working on is Thompson Mills out of Rockport, which is a contractor. And they said that the overhead doors are like months out to get overhead door.
Yeah,
Anything else?
everything is months out. That's exactly it. The simplest of things, it's very difficult here in purchasing right now. So the things we don't take for granted.
Yeah. Okay, we went down to number 5, special service contract with George Buckley. Maureen and Keating, various county buildings.
Yep, so this was gonna be our plan 2 years ago. We wanted to start with re-coring and re-keying. I'm sure over the past 25 years, a lot of keys have been handed out to this building and various departments within it, to the health department. Nothing makes sense at the health department for keys and cores and what doors have what. There's very little record of who has what in each building. And then the Ag Center, we were originally only going to recore the exterior doors, again, because the property owner gave keys to various companies for maintenance items. But in talking with the rep from Door Specialties here, he said that those cores, those numbers, that property owner now, he owns that stuff, he has record. So for pennies on the dollar, you should just record the whole building, every door in the place. This way, it's private again. They'll have it itemized in the best program, and we don't have to worry about ever having an issue of somebody having keys to a department that shouldn't. So roughly $35 per door plus the keys. We're also looking into purchasing the key cutting equipment. Every time we order a key or have a locksmith come out just to make us keys, you know, it's a $75 service charge, it's $5 a key, it adds up. For $3,200, we could own that equipment, make our keys, change keys if we needed to. I think it would be beneficial over the next 20 or 30 years to be able to do that, keep better record.
How's the new, we use our tags and it seems to be working. Okay.
Yep, some of the doors are a little sticky still. I mean, it's just in the equipment of the style of what they had to use on which door. But it seems to be working as it should.
Okay, now this is just motion for this one, the owning our own key stuff, that's something that.
Again, that's something different.
Wish list.
Exactly, yeah, but it's something that we will end up, kind of be an FYI that I'm purchasing that. It's especially with doing this project. I just see it just like having our plumbing snake, you know what I mean? We should just own that stuff. The hospital owns its equipment. We're gonna build that so we don't have to sub out the simple things anymore or to, you know, throw away money. So it's roughly $5,000, give or take, per building to record. The health department's smaller, may not be as much, but there's some updating of lever sets and stuff that may take place there as well. But, so this $20,000 would cover all 3 properties and then some.
Right. Motion by Supervisor King. Further discussion? Favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Ten looks like 6 and 7 go together. And this is permission to establish project the Ag Center enhancement, purchase of a building with HVAC, control, HVAC balancing, doors, lock replacement, and the bar.
Correct, yep, I sat with Janice last week, we went over the wish list of what the building or what the property needs right away to bring it up to a county standard property. The roof we talked about last month, that's a no-brainer, we definitely have to do that. The front door replacement, I'm waiting for the specs on that, so I can put that out to bid and get better pricing. Because those front doors, they're gonna become pretty costly. But nothing that can't be done. The HVAC study, I've had complaints of various departments that nothing makes sense in there. We're gonna have that system studied. There's 5 different thermostats that, and 5 different style thermostats throughout the building. And then thermostats are in various places. So we'd like to have UNS Services and their engineer come out and take a look at that stuff and then put the controls on the equipment so we can take average temperatures of the building and just like we control the rest of our equipment. And I'd like to sneak in the rubberized stair treads into this year as well, as long as the stuff is available. But that will all be covered under that $221,000 coming out of a CIP line, so it's not funds that we have to borrow. It's funds that are available to us now.
The thermostats, are they locked on a certain temperature so they can't change?
They're changed every day, that's why it's very difficult. And the thermostats that are in place are actually, you don't take 24 or 12 volts or 120 volt, they're all battery powered. So the thermostat batteries die, the heating quits. So it's Don Roberts now has a drawer full of batteries, and when somebody starts complaining, most of the time it's the batteries, that have died and the equipment stopped running. But the placement of the thermostats is the biggest issue. The thermostats are in general office spaces that heat up much quicker, or they don't heat up at all because they're on the outside, outside window side of the building. So a large room or a large area may be 83 degrees by the time the office warms up, or vice versa, or cools off. So there's definitely some issues over there. So
I know the conference room on the second floor, there's big windows in there, the shades are, that's gonna warm up pretty fast.
So exactly, and we're gonna look into window tinting or different shades. I didn't include that into this year's plan. I wanted to get the HVAC balance and see how that helps, and then try to tackle different designs for the shades, going with a white shade instead of black. That black it's absorbing all that heat. But I think with window tinting, a mirrored window tint, it would keep all that sunlight right out of there. You still get light, but it wouldn't draw that heat like it does. So that would probably be a 23, something to tackle in 2023.
This would maybe help resolve some of the issues that probably Milton's had down there.
Sure. Yes. So quality milk, the issue with that is the heater that is put in place is a makeup air unit. I think we talked about that before. They have a split unit now as well. So it's supplying adequate heat now, but the unit that was originally put in place is only able to heat that place up to 50%, say, or cool that place to 50% of what it should be, because it's actually a makeup air unit. It's a helper unit. It's not actually designed as a furnace or an air handler. It's just conditioning air that is to enter a space to be heated or cooled. There's a science behind it. I don't know how the ball got dropped years ago better tweak that unit to be able to perform properly and putting the controls on it where you can see what's actually doing as well.
And then you mentioned the door locks. I know at one time we tried to do computer control on certain times. The doors would lock, the doors would be open, somebody had meetings there.
Yep, we've already actually, last month, we signed with Windstar on that to take care of that. And we're just in still the contract stage of back and forth between us and Windstar, but we're gonna put all of the exterior doors on the first floor on an access control, and we're changing out door handles. So when you unlock the rear doors, you have to pull your key out and it locks right away. So you unlock, open the door, pull your key out, it's locked and closes. This way it funnels everybody to the front doors. Nobody that does not have a key can get in any other area without actually having access. That's one major problem that's over there, is that the building's locked or unlocked all the time. And there's just no rhyme or reason to that. So with access cards and stuff like that, and new handles, will be able to take care of security.
So this work's going to take place after the closing of the building.
Are these costs into the closing, into the purchase of these are on top of what we agreed to buy the building for, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, I answered that question. I had some money secured, pay for the building, and Mike says that when that was negotiated or the whole, it didn't include anything like this, it was include the purchase of the building.
Yeah, I think the process is, whatever was borrowed to purchase the building has to go towards closing costs, not towards upgrades.
Right, I just didn't know if this was, well, did we look at all these? Because I know that we were looking at everything before we agreed to buy the building, but it was not.
Well, and I had a note, I mean, we've talked about several things that need to be addressed there. I mean, these by far are not the only ones. We had over almost $500,000 of things that parking, the retainage wall. There's a whole bunch of stuff that but we talked the other day and I said, what do we need to do? As soon as we purchase a building, what needs to be done?
Right.
So we're trying to spread these projects out so it, our capital improvement fund is managed that way. That's, we're looking across the county and bumping things up that, Mike, that's his job, what needs to be done. So,
Yeah, we're just bringing it up to the standards of our larger buildings. Comparing it in comparison to social services is really square footage wise and the type of building it's being used for is what we're trying to compare to. So.
The only thing was the closing was the roof repair.
The roof, yeah, and I can give you an update on that if you'd like. I talked to Terry Mooney this week, who Jim has overseen that roof replacement. They've contracted with a larger company out of Rochester, it sounds like, to have that roof repaired. We're finding new leaks in areas above building codes right now. There's nothing we can do currently, of course, time of year. But Terry had said that all the materials are the contractors, he's got everything to do the roof. The contractor's still tied up for a couple weeks, and with current conditions and snow loads and icing right now, it's very difficult to even start that process of roof replacement. They do want to get on it though as soon as the contractor's freed up. So Pulley's going to provide a crew to remove snow in front of the contractor that is replacing and repairing roof sections or the roof as a whole, sorry. It's just very difficult and with the project around, they can't give an exact time frame, but should be within the next 30 days is what I'm being told. So that's where that stands. The other I know I discussed with Becky is placement of materials over there, secure placement. We can do some things with some cameras to where they're gonna store the materials. But I think the best bet is for the contractor to provide storage containers, like any other construction job, then they can keep things locked up and on the property. That's where we stand with the exit right now, really. I guess I'm still looking for clarification on how to split the remainder of the build-out space that's downstairs. I know there's gonna be 3,000 square feet available as soon as Cornell moves over to the space that we just created for them. I don't really know who to go to get an approval for the design of that. Because I'm waiting to see what comes of space allocation. I can tell you though, it's not gonna happen overnight if we leave there. The guys are there now doing the work. If we just continue, we can get it built now, that build out space in the back. But if not, it could be fall or next winter by the time we're able to get back over there to complete that project, only because we have so many other things that are on the burner as well. I guess I'd rather just keep them there, get some walls built, and then we put, whatever agencies into places that we've already accounted for. I guess that's not my call, I guess.
We did it yesterday, and Laura, didn't you mention that the one at the time was gonna exit the?
Yes, Cheryl Cummings will be leaving the Ag Center. She'll have everything out of there by, according to her letter to Becky, by the 5th of February. So she will vacate her lease agreement with the county.
Yeah, her area doesn't affect the build-up space upstairs on the first floor. So we're just, Cornell asked to downsize, you're gonna have 3,000 square feet there, and the materials sit there to do it. I just need to know
Who we're putting there.
who we're putting there, what the plan is to split that space, or do we just leave it as such for now with material sitting?
Is there been any movement on moving the veterans down there?
Tony's called our office repeatedly over the past 30 days, wondering if we've heard anything, because we talked about that. And
Give them the health department.
We did hear from the health department,
Right, they want more space.
Kind of pinch down there. Dan, you haven't heard anything about, what to do with these other spaces we're gonna have available?
Well, I mean, with respect to veterans, Laura was going to have a conversation with the veterans director, and then I think they were going to go from there. I believe she reported in, was it public safety, Cheryl? And then we reviewed public health, and then we reviewed it yesterday in planning as well. But we don't have a set time frame or anything in place for when potentially that move could occur. We obviously have to be sensitive to the veterans' needs as well. So
They want to move, right? Are they looking?
so I don't know if they want to move. I know there's
They want to know
urgency
what
for Laura, that they're okay with moving. There's urgency for Laura to have more space because of her situation. I do know Tony has, it sounds like $70,000 in grant funding available to come up with some sort of Zen garden or something. But if we're not gonna put it at the health department property, if they're not gonna be there, I hate to see, I hate to see Tony moves out on that grant funding as well. So that's why it's out of my hand, but he's just looking for answers as
We have
well.
some funding that could be used to renovate.
No, he says that Zen here.
Yeah,
This is the Dwyer money to mental health,
Oh,
so it's,
Yeah, so it's not all.
no, it's not all the 70,000.
yeah, I don't know that. Those are just the numbers.
Outside seating area, maybe with covered, and then also having like a burn, I don't know, a burn pit or area, like area where the veterans wanted to do a flag disposal ceremony, they could do it there on site as well. And have something nice where they could kind of do their coffee hours there and the summertime.
So what you're asking is the plan to put veteran services in there so you can plan the space, right?
I guess
And,
that's,
and get it done.
Yeah.
That's what he's
And
asking.
it's just.
Like, who's making that decision? That's what he's asking, because if that's the plan, then you can talk with veterans and specify, you know. build it
Exactly.
kind of what- That's what
that
he's
we can
asking.
build it to what they need then out of that space. Currently, they occupy 2,000 square feet. We're gonna have an area that's roughly 1,800 square feet down there. But they have a lot of storage items too, so I really think that we can take care of all the needs of the veterans in 2,000 or 1,800 square feet of that building that's more central, you know, to the village for them. And still have 1,000 square foot office space, whether you wanted to move anybody else's department or however that works out, but I either have to split it or we don't split it at all and they use the whole space, but
So is there an area where they can do this fire pit area that
I think we'd have to look at, I haven't actually seen what area we're going to own, because I know there's an easement put in place and stuff like that, but we can definitely make something work there for them on the property up against the creek there.
Mike, has Tony been over to the Ag Center to take a look at it?
I don't know that, I don't believe so, because it's only hearsay of what, you know what I mean, of what is made up down the line, type of deal.
We may want to have him come over to the Ag Center and just to get an idea from him what's there, you know, and available, and how he would like that arranged to accommodate his needs.
Okay, Dan, do you want that to come back through planning then, instead of this committee? Only because I'll reach out to Tony, I'll set up a meeting, we can come up with a plan, but I just need to have answers.
No, I think, you know, Mike, you know, you own it, right? I mean, you're gonna make it happen regardless, and it falls under building and grounds, so I would just go ahead and, you know, we've been talking about it in both planning from a strict,
I think that's what he's saying is, what's the decision?
Right, we haven't actually made a decision to say, yes, we are moving veterans down there. That's, I think, Mike's waiting to get. Are we or are we not moving veterans? That has not been decided.
Which should be a space allocation.
Yes.
so you wanna, I'm not clear though, if we want to move that through planning.
It should be a space allocation decision.
Okay,
One thing
because-
I think we need to keep in mind, even though the building is compliant with handicap rules and regulations, unless you help someone who is handicapped and has difficulty, I don't know that we want them going up and down ramps. I know it's important to get them moved down to the health department. But a lot of our veterans are elderly. They're getting older all the time, they may have mobility issues. The ramp fits the code, it fits the law, it does what it's supposed to do. Tony shouldn't be our main priority. Our main priority should be our customers that are coming to the veteran service to get help.
Well, that's why, Mike, I suggested that Tony come down to the Ag Center and take a look at the facility and get a better understanding of what's available there and how that building could accommodate his needs. But, you know, with respect to whether or not the decision needs to come through planning, you've already made decisions through Public Works regarding space and allocations outside of what was discussed in planning. Mike's potential move to the highway department was approved through this committee, did not go through planning. So
We haven't approved anything.
They didn't approve anything yet, Dan.
And
Well,
for-
there was a resolution last month that came out of Public Works that authorized Mike to begin discussions with Devon regarding the office space and relocating building and grounds to highway. That did not go through planning. So I just want to make a point here that this committee has already made decisions relative to space allocation within the county that didn't go through planning per se, but did come through Public Works.
Dan, there was no resolution, there was a provision for him to proceed and to see what costs would be.
Well, so, okay, so I mean, de facto, permission came out of this committee for him to move forward with that space change or discussion, but it did not go through planning. That's my point.
Nothing's been approved to make a space change. Nothing's been approved for anything. It's just discussions.
Well, yeah, we wanted, when we moved the veterans, from when they were over here, the parking lot outside here down to public health, what kind of impact that would have on them. It seems to work okay. But I agree, with what Dan says, that Tony needs to look at it to see if it's something that can accommodate people that need services.
I'll set up a meeting and we'll go from there.
Yeah. I mean, I had a conversation with Laura prior to the committee cycle regarding veterans, and she was obviously sensitive to Tony's needs down there and wanted to have a conversation with him prior to any decisions that would be made. So I left it in her hands to have that conversation with Tony. She wanted to have that discussion with him, and then we would proceed from there. But I mean, as long as both public health and veterans agree, and that Tony is willing to relocate veterans, I think we ought to be also sensitive and reaching out to maybe some of the veterans organizations to let them know that this is something we're thinking about, so that we can get some feedback from the veterans groups. But maybe Tony can do that through his contacts. When we encountered this same kind of anguish when we moved veterans right out to Mungers Hill. So, we want to be sensitive to their needs, obviously.
Yeah, so that's Mike can meet with Tony and look over the areas that are accessible to him, and we'll go from there.
Okay, I'd like to note that once my guys are out of the building, then we're not gonna be back there for a while.
Yeah.
Unless it's an emergency, but we've got work at the courthouse, we're gonna have work at the sheriff's department, carpet replacement through the government center. It'll be months before we get back there unless directed otherwise. So I would just like to note that. The schedule fills up quickly, especially at the beginning of the year. Funding is available for other projects. We have to execute those other projects if we can't make a decision of space allocation stuff.
Okay, now you have a motion that you go ahead with number 6 and 7. Well, we're for that. Motion by Supervisor Roach to number 6 and 7. Any further discussion? Not all in favor? Opposed? Carried. While we're talking on that same subject, I'd like to have a discussion if light bulb needs changing over there, who do they call? It's been kind of a confusing here recently, whether they call Don Roberts or they call Mike. And emails that go back and forth, and Don Roberts doesn't have a problem. everybody calls Mike with the issues that I call him,
I think that's our best bet.
so.
Don's getting a hold of me either way. We can set, there's a program, I already talked to Bill Sykes about it, to teach agencies or departments how to use the QWare system, to put a work order in. But I've got an outline of things that need to be discussed with building tenants, just to let them know how the procedures and things run on our end. And then I just have a list of things that I'd like to share with them to just fill them in on work that'll be going on there as well. So I think as soon as we have, like when we talked, when the roof materials hit the property, we're probably 30 to 45 days out from the roof being replaced. I think that'd be a good time to then have a meeting at that same time, 45 days prior to taking ownership. So this way we can hit the ground running, nobody has any questions, and there's things I want to clear up that their lease says or doesn't say the way things are being run now within that building. So
So do we know that once the roof is fixed and then the closing of the building will take place?
I believe that's what we're waiting for, but I don't have that answer.
Well, I think, there's a big change because in the past, it was kind of, that Roberts received all the complaints or the need for services over there. It would be a stretch to get it to the building and grounds department. I think that's your best bet is to meet with the tenants over there. This is the way it is going forward. I should follow this program.
I agree.
Everybody agree with that? I think that's the best route to do it. Okay. The other thing that we've had, like this approached me about, was the use of the procurement cards. They have quite often have to buy things. It make them get repairs done. Sometimes there's been a question about using the use of the procurement card to do that. Like one, Kristen, one that kind of explain what she'd like this legal to do. It's from down someplace like this committee, say, yeah, this is going to make that.
My department, I know I need to use the procurement card as a credit card to purchase through places such as Home Depot or Tractor Supply, or any of our online ordering for repairs or projects. Currently, that procurement process or that understanding of that is, it doesn't allow for that. It's only for emergency purchases. I can't open credit cards and they don't offer like a net 30 accounts at these places. So that's how we've been using the card, is to buy the goods we need from these places as we need them. I don't think there's a discrepancy in the best price. I think Janice is concerned with just going against our county policy in doing so, because the county policy states for emergency or one-time purchases. But that's just not the case anymore. These places do not offer accounts. You have to open credit cards. They do not want to see that through the comptroller's office. It's come from the treasurer that your procurement card is your credit card. That's how it needs to be treated. So it's been a month since we visited this last, and I really like to get an answer on this because it affects our day-to-day processes through our department. And I know other departments that use the card as well.
Kristen explained to me the other day about some of the places that they're already like on state bid, everything's been vetted that way, so that they don't really have to bid for some of these items that they need. person wanted to enhance
So for
that.
instance, one of the things would be Amazon business.
Step up the microphone.
Oh, sorry, hi. Yeah. So one of the things would be, such as the Amazon business that we use quite often. They've been awarded a contract through Omni Partners, which is a national co-op for purchasing. So we can go on Amazon business and we can procure goods that we need for buildings and grounds. And all those goods have already been vetted. I believe Genesee County, Livingston County, Ontario County are currently using the Amazon Business Marketplace, as well as Prince George County and the state of Utah. So we're on this national co-op, which gives us the permissions to purchase through Amazon Marketplace. Same thing with Home Depot, same thing with Lowe's. The situation is we either have to apply for a credit card, a line of credit, which we're being told we can't do that, or use a procurement card. And that's where.
Which it just
comes
goes
into play.
against the county policy of the procurement card use.
So if the question is using a procurement card and we're gonna get in trouble with the comptroller, well, we can back those purchases up by printing out copies of these contracts where they've been awarded through Omni Partners, and that should.
Omni Partners looks for best value is what they're doing. They vet the best value. So it's, and building materials are very difficult only because best value changes day to day.
It's nice to have, and they were pushing US communities. Omnia Partners is now, like they bought out US communities.
And sales tax, exactly.
Right, the tax process isn't an issue.
So, like in that binder, and I don't know how far either one of you got in the binder.
I got about halfway.
Yep, that's what Jerry said too, but there's a whole section in there on Omnia Partners, who they are, how they evolved, and it's the old US communities that NISAC was pushing. And they have all of those businesses that they're talking about.
Right.
Yeah, it's a co-op.
Yes, and there are just thousands and thousands of businesses through Omni Partners, and it's not just businesses, it's products. So for example, say we go to recarpet this building right now, and we select off of Omni Partners that we're gonna use Mohawk brand carpeting. What we do is we print that contract out, we can find a local vendor to keep that sale still local to our vendors. They have to give us the contract pricing through Omni Partners. We purchased a lawnmower the same way last year, same situation. John Deere was on contract, we found them, they gave us that price. So we can get that contract pricing through our local vendors. We just have to supply them that Omni Partners contract and show them what that price is. It's the same thing with tips that we just put through today. We're gonna be using the tips contract, which is Tips USA, to do the reporting and rekeying in our buildings. These prices have already been vetted through Tips USA and giving thousands of vendors through Tips that have been competitively bid, and we can use the Tips ID, which has already been vetted. So if we were ever audited, we can supply them that contract and we're covered. So it's almost the same, it's the same thing. It's, again, it's a situation sometimes it's using a procurement card to purchase these items.
So this is Janice. Again, buying something on a contract is not an issue. And as long as we have a contract or some type of, whatever follows purchasing policy, I don't care. It's the procurement card usage that is challenging to me. And that's the only thing I brought up prior. When we make purchases, now the highway I've seen has made a purchase of a piece of equipment or a piece of something that's over $500, which our current purchasing policy says must require a purchase order signed by the purchasing agent of the county. So it's those purchases that are over $500 that is a red flag to me. So whether we change the policy to say you need to get a purchase order and that date of the purchase order has to be prior to the M&T card purchase, then maybe we do that. But right now we are outside the purchasing policy when it comes to making purchases from the procurement card. Keep in mind that the procurement card is, you purchase it, it's purchased. It's not, why even have an audit committee? So,
And we're not purchasing, these are just for really day-to-day things.
and that's fine, and you're purchasing them by best bet, or you're purchasing by either quotes or calling around to see where you get the best price. That's not the issue so much.
No,
The
I
issue
understand.
is using the procurement card outside what would normally be using the procurement card. I know that Kristen called me on that thing today with the door lock, or she called me prior. I'm like, that's fine. If it's, you still need a contract with the company because they're providing a service.
Right, and I think we're talking two different things there anyway, but it's purchases of goods with the procurement card that are day-to-day purchases or because online places have it available where we're waiting, not everything can wait. Our larger items, our bigger ticket items, our equipment, we're not looking to purchase that stuff daily. We'd still follow all procurement processes of bidding and advertising, but these are just our normal day-to-day purchases that, geez, Ace doesn't have it available, Country Line, it's gonna take 2 weeks to get. We need to be able to use Amazon, we need to be able to use Home Depot or Lowe's to make these purchases. But sometimes if it's a hot water tank for a building, yeah, it could be considered an emergency, but hot water tanks can cost $1,000 no matter what. So there's a couple things that play with the procurement card is the dollar amount, yes, dollar amount, but $500 doesn't buy you anything anymore, everybody knows that. So I believe we have to bump that number up. And then the process of buildings and grounds using it, who am I calling or getting a PO from for every purchase that I'm gonna end up using my card for over that $500. That's, I'll be on the phone with somebody all the time.
So we may need to look at our procurement policy, because I know we are in our town right now, because our highway superintendent said the same thing, you have these little dollar amounts. And this day and age, you can't go buy 2 tires under what your procurement policy said, without going and getting all these. So we're looking at it also.
When they first started talking about reviewing the procurement policy and the procurement card usage policy.
Right, they're 2 different, yeah.
They interact together.
Right.
So I started pulling and, Kristen had started, she had some things, so I took that, I made a binder. Our current procurement policy is in it, our current, procurement card guidelines are in it. There's all kinds of information in there on Omnia partners.
Okay.
And then through Kristen, I have some other counties, and I also pulled some other counties. So the book has several things.
It's a good read.
Yeah, right? It has several things that some people
Isn't that good of a read?
consider when they get together. It's my consuming and
You should sleep.
It's
put you to sleep.
gonna be something.
Good reading, man.
So I'm trying to circulate the book.
Okay.
And, at some point, I'd like to share the book with Janice because she also needs some time, which is, I think, we're waiting for some time to free up in her schedule to be able to get that subcommittee together. But in the meantime, I'm trying to circulate some stuff so that people can start,
Think about
so it exists and it's making its way around that subcommittee. I don't know if it's gonna be super timely for these guys, but,
Yeah, and I think the contract and the procurement card are 2 separate. They intermix all the time, but it's just being able to use the card as a credit card as needed. You put your faith in me to run to the department. I'm just asking for that faith with the card to be able to purchase items for the buildings. I'm not.
and maybe the simple, solution in the interim until that can be gone through is maybe the guidelines need to be reviewed to loosen them up enough so that Mike can do what he needs to do, and then the whole revamping continues to take place. But I myself haven't even gotten that part, so.
There's a lot of on the cards, the same, for everybody,
Yeah,
it's $500.
well, it's not the dollar amount on the procurement card, it's how the procurement card is used. The purchasing policy itself dictates whether it's you know, 500 over, you have a PO, right, under 500, you can do an invoice, but and the tracking, which is what Janice's main concern is the tracking on the M&T card is just not there, but I don't know if we can change that with the M&T card.
Right, because she's concerned that we're buying so many things from these vendors and we're not paying attention to the dollar amount, because then you hit the dollar amount where we should have been.
It's not easily trackable because it all shows up as one under M&T and you can't divide it out.
Right,
I don't know.
Right, and I hear what Sandy's saying, but like Kristen and Mike said, if they're buying off a contract or a buying corp or whatever you want to call it, that's not going to be an issue if that's what they're doing all the time. But again, my issue is what it says and what we're doing are two different things. So if in the meantime, if Public Works maybe wants to say, we're going to give buildings and grounds permission to make purchases, whatever they need, with a procurement card under $500, then, and do it for everything you want, that's fine. But I think you might want to talk to finance or audit, because what that means is every single purchase they make is prior to any sort of audit. And that's what it is. So this is where you get a little vulnerable with the procurement card. Now, is that going to create an issue? You guys have been sitting on audit for a long time. How often do you pull something? I don't, not very often. How often do you disagree with something? Not very often. So if you want to give buildings and grounds only the right to go ahead and do that, then if you put it in the minutes until we can amend the guidelines, then I'm okay with that, and maybe amend the guidelines that we currently have. My issue still then is the $500. A purchase over $500 requires the purchasing agent's signature. So if you can put in a purchase requisition, have Jerry or Becky sign off on it and approve that purchase order, then make the purchase, and the dates jive, maybe I'm okay with that, but it's not my call. Someone besides me has to make those decisions. These are just some options I'm comfortable with. Yeah.
And the only thing I would say is that I wouldn't say that this committee should give the permission, but this committee should make a recommendation to the finance committee, because that's where those policies fall, that they would like to see some sort of leniency, or at least an interim change to maybe both of those policies until the entire thing can be done. But that's the
And
only
I'm seeing some purchasing policies, because I've gotten some too. All the purchasing policies and procurement policies are all basically worded the same that I've seen. I mean, it's they're all basically worded the same as ours. However, I've seen a few of them are $1,000, and the amounts are different. So do you want to just say you only need a purchase order if it's a commodity for $1,000? I mean, that's up to the purchasing policy making people, not me. Like Sandy was saying earlier, it maybe raise those limits.
And that was some of what we were looking at, Janice, and those other county policies, is that their limit seems to be a little bit higher than ours.
Yep. The dollar amount.
I saw a couple that were like 1,500.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could buy 2 motors, electric motors, and you could be at that $1,000 mark as well. That's where the commodity comes into place. Well, I'm looking to purchase. With maintenance stuff, it could be anything. That's the problem. And I understand the process, but.
The part we criticize on is not following our own policy. So what we're trying to do is get everybody together so that, we've had time to think about what needs to be done, and not just meet for the sheer sake of meeting, but have a real meaningful meeting with a meaningful outcome that can go to finance and then to the full board, because either one of these are going to need a resolution to change them.
So the recommendation here would be this to finance, talk about it. change to accommodate village grounds so they can do the purchasing.
Yeah, it wouldn't just be them, it would be everybody, it would be across the entire council, so that's what we have to be careful of too, right?
Right, if you're changing, it's gonna affect everything.
Yeah,
In the town of Arcade, our purchasing policy, procurement policy for the highway superintendent is $5,000 without having to come forward. Our budget's like 1.1 million, got $164 million budget here, is at $500 limit.
Right.
That's acceptable.
The price of.
I think you said you can't buy two tires.
Did we get 2 years ago for what we could get back?
We had one building, we got 30.
Yeah.
Well, it's a hospital.
Forever.
I don't know.
Sometimes there's some reason we have to do it.
Does the hospital have the same kind of policy?
I don't know what they got.
They have their policy.
I don't even know, I know that Annalise, they try to mimic what we do on the non-hospital side of the house, right? But
I think they have different guidelines also for different types of purchasing.
There's an audit committee at the hospital. Jerry, you've been on the plant and equipment committee. We've never had a discussion in the time that I was on those committees about spending money. Now, something goes wrong down there, better get it fixed. And not worry about whether it was $500 or $50.
hey, Janice. Are you there?
Yeah,
I'm just wondering if the motion that comes out of Public Works to Finance, if it's just to increase those thresholds, if that would get us through.
well, I would say there's a couple things to get, recommend to review the thresholds, maybe come up with another threshold for purchase orders. What requires a purchase order for a particular commodity or whatever. But I think that guideline for the procurement card where it talks about what it can and can't be used for,
Yeah,
I think should be reviewed and amended.
okay,
Those two things.
okay.
Because the wording in that is basically gas, schooling.
Right. Training,
Right now.
training.
Yeah,
And I think we started that to do that because when you start using it for all these other things, you lose vendor history. We have no idea where the vendor there's no vendor history at all. So in 4 or 5 years from now, you may have no vendor history as to where you've got things.
We still have receipts.
Is there any way to change that in the M&T card itself?
Is there a way to what?
Is there any way to change that so that we can pull history from the M&T card itself? Because they are coded. I just don't know.
So there was an option with our Munis program to do that, and I'm not sure what happened with that. I think we were unable to bring in, what would happen is the treasurer's office would have to set up all the vendors because you'd still have to enter it in with the vendor. And I think I've talked to other counties and they do that. Some do it, some don't. Talked to Genesee, they don't have that, they didn't elect that option. I talked to another county and they did. However, they have like a few generic vendors for like your gas stations all over the place and your, hotels. So we don't have hotels all over the place, but for vendors, they would put it in there. And then what that would do is it would combine the two vendors. So if you were paying it by check, the way I look at it though, is if you already have a vendor set up, then there's a reason why. And that's one of the things there. I know we've talked, Home Depot doesn't do that. I know Dennis Halstead used to have a Home Depot credit card. That's still a pre-audit thing. So to me, it doesn't matter if you're using M&T or a Home Debit, a Home Depot, credit card. The only difference is, it's Home Depot.
Yeah, and I know that the reason, when we did the procurement cards, we tried to give everybody away from the individual Tractor Supply, Home Depot cards and just put everybody in the procurement. I mean, that was the goal, was to use one.
I mean, it's, like I said, it's not my decision. If you guys don't care about vendor history, I don't care. I mean, I just am doing what you guys want done. And I'm just auditing what your policy says. So those are some of the suggestions I had. Increasing the limits and amending the guidelines for use.
To allow purchase of commodities.
Then my question would be, if we, if you specify just buildings and grounds department doing that, if you don't, then are you okay with every department using their M&T card to purchase supplies and commodities?
Some of them already are, right?
I don't think so.
They're not, no, they aren't.
How many complaints have we had from other departments about this?
There has been complaints, but other departments are using it, they're just not as much. But as she stated, there's other departments that are using it.
Well, I don't think the other departments use their card though, like how Mike would use it, because they're buying gas, they're doing trainings and they're doing hotel, but that's all allowable. Purchase that they use it.
They're starting to use it for a little bit of everything.
Oh,
Yeah. I thought some, you look at through audit, sometimes you can see where they're all.
Oh, yeah.
so
And it used to be, I know there was a couple departments that got approval to buy from like Oriental Trading, but now they're set up as an account. There's a few things that, I mean, this is what I mean. So I saw Amazon, someone bought some calendars from Amazon. Okay, so that's an office supply that should have been purchased through Staples.
Right.
Or one of those things, but I have no control over it. I mean, that is an office supply that should have been purchased through an approved, the vendor that we all use. That it's just a little frustrating on my end because I feel like it's pretty loosey goosey and I'm not able to audit according to, the policy. It's already spent. What are you gonna do? Say return those few calendars? I'm just saying it's starting to open up and yeah, it's a whole lot easier sitting at your desk and throwing the M&T card, procurement card in there to buy stuff.
okay.
All right, so then we'll figure out who manages the finance, discuss it. There's upgrading our policy. Values on the procurement.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a whole revamping, it just needs to be amended right
And
now,
so
not
certain
to-
areas.
Kind of a Band-Aid for now.
Kind
Kind of a Band-Aid for
Yeah,
now.
I think so.
Jerry, does county still have a county credit card?
Procurement card.
No, I think the county credit card still exists, but.
There is one?
Yeah.
I thought we got rid of
Whose
it.
name is it? You can't have a credit card without me.
Oh,
Well, then-
I don't think we have a credit card for the county because we use the procurement card.
They canceled the card. It was in my-
right.
Then it did.
So we don't have a.
We don't have one. I don't think. Miss Becky does. I'll walk in the middle and you'll find out.
We have one Walmart card. We have a Walmart card that is,
Credit card.
Oh. Okay. Okay.
I don't know. It's,
I don't know.
would it be easier if building and grounds had a credit card?
they have an M&T card.
So that's
Right, they have an, I'm talking about like a Visa card just for them to purchase this stuff.
No, because they run into the same problem. She's looking for audit issues.
Right, but at least
It would just be one card.
it'd be one card. It's easier than trying to pull it out of the M&T card.
No, it's the same. I mean, their card is their card. It's
Right.
coded, yeah, by department.
Yeah, it's the same issue. So we don't want a second card. All we want to do is loosen up the policy so that they're actually doing what the policy allows for. And without having that in front of me, but I think I know where to look for it, you know, and we can make the recommendation out of here into finance and then, you know, hopefully not as long a conversation there, but hopefully we'll have some amendments to offer to the procurement card guidelines and to the purchasing policy. And you can tighten it up so it's just buildings and grounds until.
Yeah, I'm just trying to, because there's always gonna be an exception out there somewhere.
Which you might have to address when you find the exception. I think so.
And I believe the exceptions were the guidelines, I believe say you have to email your committee chair and ask for permission. And copy me in, and that way we put it with it and it's good to go. That's the, I mean, Alan, you remember because mental health used to have to buy stuff. And I know Youth Bureau buys some things. Public health occasionally would buy a couple things when they have to get something for, you know, like an event or something and they need something quick. I mean, those are things that was the process when you had to buy something above, you know, outside the normal purchasing and you used your M&T card. It was email your committee chair for approval. That was was the process. If, like I said, that was a long time ago and certainly can be changed, but it needs to be changed if that's what you guys want.
Yeah, so, like, I don't know if you got it with you today, but
I don't.
if not, like. So, like, over the next day or so, you know, we just need to see if we can find language that everybody likes and present it to finance and that'll be a mandate for now. I don't know. Gary's not done with it either.
My homework,
Yeah.
I think we need to do something, unhandcuff Mike, purchasing some of the things that he needs yesterday, basically.
Yeah, well, 11, and I understand purchasing on contract, the problem with supplies, materials. I looked at price. I can purchase on contract some of these items and wait, but the item may be $100. So connectors, you know, something as simple as a phone connector, they're $11.55 a piece at Countryline. I ordered 50 connectors this week, had to order them. I can buy a bag of 50 of them though for $143 through Amazon. So there's two things. It's I can purchase on contract or from a woman-owned business or minority, you know, and wait. But I also look at the other end of the spectrum where I don't want to come to you at the end of the year because the cost has gone up. Contract price is here, but vendor price on a normal level is here as well. It just doesn't make sense to go with contract price if there's a huge savings just using an online vendor. So it does, there's so many different levels within my purchasing in my department that it's these guidelines or the way it's written now, it's gotta be reviewed or, and if you don't want me to alter it, or if you don't wanna alter it, that's fine, but we'll be waiting and paying more at the end of the day in most cases.
It's been an ongoing problem in government. I can remember Al Gore talking about, there's an ashtray that the government buys, it's $100 and it takes us forever to get it. I can go down to the local store and purchase it for $5.
So.
So this has been going on in government for.
So under $500, I don't worry about with that kind of stuff, because it's, you know, it's very loose that way. But if if I have to buy $1,000 in steel studs to build a wall, well, I'm just gonna get prices, but it doesn't meet those. It's very hard to explain. It doesn't. I can't stand it, words today. It's, yeah,
Specs.
right.
And I know, I mean, I didn't see it on my town level as well, but like the issue that was mentioned earlier with the person buying a calendar, and they bought it through Amazon. They should have bought it through Staples. Well, they may have even gone online and looked at the same calendar at Staples, and oh, it's $15 more. But you have to look at the bigger picture, that we're getting a case of paper a lot cheaper, or we're getting all these other things cheaper. It's the whole, everything that falls under the contract for office supplies that we wind up ultimately.
And that's where I was going with,
Yeah.
with a 2x4 or a steel stud. You're not gonna find anybody on contract for building materials because they fluctuate. You just can't. I can't go to a vendor and say, I need you to lock me in a price for 2x4s. Not gonna happen for the next year. So there's many components that play with the building and the maintenance end of purchasing.
And we've had conversations for years, particularly about buying vehicles. It's like, if you wanna buy a vehicle, it's like, if the prices are really close, you wanna buy a vehicle from a dealer who lives, operates, pays sales tax, property tax, whatever, in Wyoming County, or do you get your vehicle from New Jersey and pay
We've
ship
done
it up here? And it's like, but then you say, okay, if you can get it $15,000 cheaper from New Jersey, should you go that way? And it's a painful discussion. because-
We bought a vehicle in New Jersey, fair time and sure.
Yeah,
And it was a couple $100 less than buying one from Porter's.
Yeah.
Then we sent 2 deputies to New Jersey to drive down.
Yep.
Pick it up and drive it back.
I think it cost us $600.
Yeah.
yeah.
And get this, it's a state bid, and that was in New Jersey, dealer in New Jersey.
Yeah.
So that's the fallacy of a lot of this. And of course, who's gonna service it? Gonna take it back to New Jersey? No. The clerk, the Dodge dealer, it was a Dodge Durango, I think, is what we bought. And, yeah, so here, McClure, sorry we didn't buy it from you and give you that extra $100, but now you get to service it for us.
I can say another thing that we run into in purchasing supplies for some of the buildings used often, and we can reach out to someone that's on state contract, and Mike does his homework. And they'll say, yeah, we can get that for you, we can get you those paper towels in 12 weeks.
Yeah.
Well, that's not gonna do us anything, we're still, we're fighting that battle constantly, and paper towels is just an example. I see him fight it with hot water tanks. When we have a hot water tank explode, he's contacting our vendor, like, yeah, about 6 weeks, we need hot water today, like now. So we're still fighting that battle of trying to even find everyday supplies. He ordered gloves at the beginning of the year, and they were back ordered for 8 weeks, gloves, just regular gloves. So
On
these are-
contract.
on contract. So these are
Staples or-
battles that we
Ranges.
constantly have to fight, where sometimes it's easier, we go right over to the Dollar General, and we can buy 4 or 5 cases of gloves just to get us by until that order comes in. Our purchasing, I think, is just a little bit different than most departments, because we're supplying for 13 buildings, and all of the county employees and some of the public that comes in our buildings. We need some of those supplies, and we can't go without them, we have to make that decision. It's not that he doesn't do his homework, because I see him, he's printing out all the pricing, he's printing out all the sheets and saying, I need this is Staples for $500, so I can drive down the road here and get it for $50. Well, if we're gonna save that much money, and if we're doing it all the time, at the end of the year, what are we saving and how are we doing that? And just right now, the day and age we're in, purchasing has become very difficult for our department when it comes to certain supplies, construction, cleaning supplies, and stuff like that, so.
It's gonna get worse
Exactly.
before it gets better.
Exactly. then it doesn't, our procurement policy doesn't point to the purchasing ways we have to do it.
And when it gets better, maybe you can revise it again and
Right.
tighten things up a little.
Well, we all can use the excuse, you know, because of COVID, everything has changed, you know, we've changed, you know, look at the grounds department, we've been more transparent this year, you know, we did recently, and like to bring this forward so we know what's going on. Like you said the other day, that the bottom line is to save the county taxpayers money. Review this policy and see if we can get it changed, make it more efficient to building the grounds and maybe some other departments, so we need to do that.
So this will be good because both Jerry and Mike have heard about this and you guys have started going through those documents. So maybe by, you know, tomorrow night or Monday, when you can come up and Janice or.
You don't want to do that, look like.
Well, without it, we wouldn't be really anywhere right now, so.
So we need to move this on, finally,
We need a motion to move it to here.
a motion to move this, discussion out of finance, a motion by Supervisor King. Any further discussion? None, all those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Further information, Becky, which we can discuss with the use of the procurement card, like building the grounds, to purchase things. We're trying to save us money, or maybe to get the availability of them, but not going through our regular contracted vendors.
Thank you, Janice. I would have been here, but I was Cheryl knows I was headed.
Sure. Okay, I just wanted to let you know.
Thank you, Jim, I appreciate that.
Okay, thanks for bringing that up, Mike, and hopefully we can figure it out and make it work well soon.
Got one more thing. I know it's pretty windy today. The rotunda here, just a progress report on that. You can see the glass and framings going in. The finishes have started on the inside. We got some temporary heat in there right now. As they do those finishes, things are going smoothly as far as that. Facial block is yet to land again. So we're still waiting on that stuff, which isn't gonna hold us up right now. We're gonna be to the point of this rotunda deal that we actually need to sit with the sheriff and there needs to be discussion on what the expectations are then out of that security station. That's gotta come from the board, I believe, as well, is what are the processes for everybody passing by there? You know, because not everybody is gonna go through the metal detector into the courthouse, but how are we gonna utilize that security station now to its best ability? The sheriff is looking for direction. He asked me about it this week. If I've heard anything on what we're gonna do with this station now that it's moved out there. So I'd like to get going on that as well. And what the process should be for anybody that is entering the building.
Maybe we should talk about that public safety section. You know, because some of it was the reason for the security, the reasons that Cheryl brought up, just once in a while, to be some resident that wasn't happy with things going on and they come up here and then to Cheryl.
Yeah, I think a lot of things have happened over the planning stages of this and then the construction process. And then how, you know, people that we know have been an issue, or people we can foresee being an issue coming into the buildings, but also just directing people to where they need to go, kind of as a welcome center to the government center. You know, some people come in and they don't know which way the courthouse is still. They don't deal with the buildings enough. So I think there needs to be a plan put in place though, and ready to hit the ground running as soon as this thing is up and running. We're not going to be long before that happens.
So we don't want to create a bottleneck down there either.
Exactly. No, but I think are we gonna have people sign in at the desk? Are we gonna, you know, we know we're gonna be viewing cameras there, but there's procedures and plans that need to be put in place with the expectations are from the deputy sitting there as well.
Okay, anything else for Mike, Kristen? Okay.
I just wanted to give my condolences, goes out to everybody on the board and everybody at the hospital for the passing of Joe. I know everybody here has worked with Joe at one point or another. It's again, sudden passing like that is never easy to deal with. I'm sure you guys will have your hands full amongst other things. There'll be giant shoes to fill there at the hospital. That's all I have for today.
You were, entertaining the like that job.
No, what's the procurement card policy up there? Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
And next on the agenda is appointments and reappointments to traffic safety board. Like for members, like we have a vacancy in Gainesville, you have anybody to, name to put in that position, maybe your highway superintendent?
That, I submitted you Rob Patterson's name, right?
I was gonna ask you somewhere along the line. I remember getting something.
Remember Rob Patterson on Shearing Road? I'm not sure what his true address is. Yeah, Robert Patterson.
And see some sort of vacancies that add to what was doing, I know Brian said change, and I was superintendent, going out there, so he's probably still trying to get that organized.
I haven't heard from anybody on the traffic safety board, but Joe, you think Gary Pinkel is still good? Gary Pinkel, you think he's still good to go?
I don't know if I'll bring that up or not, but I don't really press the button. I don't think, I was gonna approach him and his wife, if you wanted to carry on.
You wanna do that over the next couple of days, since we can always post his name,
He's not in good shape.
or he'd like to resign or something. And I won't, we won't include it. You can talk to him, but we won't include it. If you'd like to continue on, we'll do it at a later date.
A short time ago, I got a call from Dave Ricketson. He's the chairman, I guess, of the traffic safety board. He asked me how viable it was to continue the traffic safety board, because he said nobody goes to the meetings. We have 3 guys there.
Yeah.
And he says, I have to do all the minutes, prepare the agenda and all that. He said, does it really amount to anything? I said, well, sometime I'll bring it up when the opportunity's right. I think this is the right time.
Because are we putting people there that just aren't taking it seriously and just don't want to really do it? Because we just put on Skip Buckle, he's a retired sheriff, and he's taking it serious. He really is into it, So I would say, yeah, it probably depends on who you pick to put on there.
I think you're absolutely right, Sandy, because when I went, just when COVID had started, because they didn't meet during.
They didn't meet for a
all
lot
of
of time,
that.
yeah,
And, it was a packed house,
yeah.
and they took it very seriously, and that's the route that it has to go to the state or to go to the county. I mean, there's a process there that has to happen.
And maybe because of COVID and the retirement of some of them, that they just haven't got the recruiting back.
I think that's what it is, because you see that in a lot of the organizations, they're dwindled down, and now people have gotten back together.
In my previous years ago, time as supervisor, I used him a number of times, like 3 times. Change the speed limit on the highway, you have to go through them, to the state, signage. It's maybe sometimes you don't use them, but you need them to follow through.
When I spoke with Dave, I spoke about the importance of this as far as, speed limit change, any kind of traffic change at all has to come through the traffic safety board first before it can even have any legs at all call the state DOT.
Which,
But he says the participation is so weak
Right now.
that
which I would find people to also be discouraged. Because we've had several requests of, again, speed limit changes, even on our local roads. And the state, in my opinion, just doesn't take it seriously. And I could see some discouragement from people attending because it never seems to go anywhere, even though everybody unanimously voted, yes, we need to change this, and then the state turns around and says, no.
that happens more often than not.
Again, be with we're looking for extending the speed limit an extra 3/8 of a mile in Marysburg going towards Attica. I had 13 houses in that 3/8 of a mile where I was picking up children. And, you know, even bringing that sort of a thing into it, that you have all these families living there, they just, no, we're not gonna do it.
Well, Dan, Laura, if you're still on, didn't you have the issue with Middlebury about trying to change the speed limit? For a while. Must be better.
No, we had, we had the issue up there on East Road where we tried to reduce the speed limit, which was turned down.
Just an extra to go past, Healing Hands is new location, if I remember correctly.
Is the traffic safety board a paid position like a lot of our planning or zoning boards?
No.
Maybe if they got $25 a meeting, it might make a difference.
I'm sorry, they get mileage, so it's either mileage or they get paid. That was an audit thing. So they get mileage for every meeting they attended, but unfortunately with COVID, there wasn't really any meetings. There might have been a Zoom meeting, I think. So there's no mileage, which is kind of stinky because you're not getting that payment. But also some people are not very far, so they don't get, they might get a mile of mileage. So that could be a consideration to change that structure. But right now you can only get either mileage or you get a payment.
So Janice is my highway superintendent, is a representative, he drives a highway pickup.
You don't need that.
Don't listen to bodies, don't.
Don't tell me that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Hold on.
I'll make it going to you, Jimmy.
Well, I think we'll go ahead and approve these folks that are on there. We're gonna use Mr. Patterson's name, and Joe's gonna check on Harry, see what we're gonna do there. Go ahead and approve these folks for now.
We have a vacancy in our cage too. That guy resigned.
Oh, okay.
And we actually put an ad in the paper.
And it's getting harder.
What are you doing, picking through them? Picking through the request?
Yeah, I got 25 requests, just like the, whatever it was yesterday.
I actually had a conversation with Dave Ricketson as well, and he had mentioned, I think, the frustration, like you guys said, that they're not a decision-making board. They're just there to recommend. So it kind of feels like they can recommend all they want. They're not a decision-making board. They don't have any, they can recommend something, but
No teeth in their plate.
no teeth in it. So it's kind of like, what is our purpose?
Probably as part of the state, because you gotta go part of the process, through that process in order, you gotta do this step to get to the next step. I think that's probably what it is.
This committee was made way before my time, so there must have been something out there for you guys to create a traffic safety board to begin with.
The Republican bank was had it for years. Joe, yes, that's right, yeah.
How many total people are on this board?
16.
Should be represented in each town.
I like, Sandy saying that they get strip football down there. It's like, if maybe instead of just having like highway superintendents or retired superintendents, get a little mix of the law enforcement who also have to deal with traffic
Right.
safety.
He's more aware of like sign places. He'll come in and say, he'll say, well, there's trees hanging over such and such a sign now, because he drives around town all the time, maybe. He just takes it serious.
Yeah.
Okay, let's entertain a motion to approve those folks that are on board. Mark, Mike, do you have to recuse yourself?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't know if necessary.
Not like it's a huge moneymaker for him.
As long as it's not paid, nobody matters.
It's kind of like.
He probably doesn't shoot his gun.
You got a lot of people if they really want the job, right? That are gonna argue the point.
Motion by Supervisor Grant, to approve those folks that are listed here. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Anything else to come before public works? After this, we stand adjourned.
Like you did.